Hey guys, gaming psychologist here today with a personal recording. One of the questions that I get asked most often is, what's it like to be a therapist? My family, my real life friends have asked me that. Some of you guys have asked me back from the Kerbal community. Some of those guys have asked me. Normally my answer is something along the lines of, it's great. It's very fulfilling for me to help people, and I enjoy my work, and that's true, but there's another side to it that is very difficult and dark and deep and personal. And today I want to go there with you guys because of what happened to me this morning. I don't know how much editing I'm actually going to do in this. I suppose it depends on a combination of how worked up I get and whether or not I accidentally reveal confidential information. I'm going to try and keep it as raw and unedited as possible, but we will see where it actually goes. And I have no script, no prepared notes. This is all raw emotion based off of what I am and have been feeling. So this will probably be a very different kind of video from me. I woke up this morning. It was the first morning that I've been in the house alone for a while. My wife's trip is coming up next week, but she's just started a new job, and this was the first day that she's left. And I woke up and the house was empty, and I sat down at my desk to do some stuff, and I started playing some music, just something in the background to listen to, and I just broke down in tears for no real reason. I mean, there is a reason, but just randomly I just started bawling. And I had a good weep for, 10, 15 minutes maybe before I finally stopped it. And I needed that. It's been a while since I've had one of those. And that's part of what it's like to be a therapist, to be a good one. I mean, you carry around the emotion and the hurt and the pain and the passion and the desires and every emotional word that you can think of. You take a little bit of that on yourself from every client that you come into contact with. Some of them are better, some of them are worse, some of them hurt more or less, but they hurt. And very slowly they build up inside. And eventually they got to come out. Some people get them out with hobbies or other things, and I've got those. That's probably why it takes me months or at least weeks to build up to a cry, but every once in a while you've just got to release that emotion. And I just want to talk for a few minutes, or I don't know how many minutes, about some of the clients that I have, just to share with you the things that I go through with these people every day. I'm gonna walk you through what I call my worst day. I didn't do this on purpose. I wish that it would not have worked out this way, but I have one day where all of the clients are experiencing some of the worst things that you can possibly imagine. So let me just walk you through what I refer to as my worst day. That day is Wednesday. I have my first client at 9 in the morning. He's a 20-year-old male whose parents have abused and manipulated him his whole life. He has turned in the past to crime and drugs, and now he lives with his grandparents, and he literally does not trust anyone, not even them. He has no friends. He has a girlfriend, I guess. She's the closest person that he is to in the whole world outside of maybe me. He tells me things that he doesn't tell anyone else, hasn't told anyone else for years. And maybe he never will again. To be honest, I'm not sure about him. He's tried to commit suicide twice since he's been in my care. And I have stopped him from from attempting suicide a further 3 times. I'm on the verge of tears now just thinking about it. It breaks my heart. This poor kid. He's only a few years younger than me. And we have some similar experiences in our life. And just to think how differently it's turned out for us. But I'm sorry if it sounds like that I'm making it about me. That's what you do to try and form a connection with these people, is you find anything that you have in yourself that can connect you to them, and you use that to attempt to walk a mile in their shoes. It just breaks my heart every time he comes in. But at the same time, it gives me hope, because if he doesn't come in one day, and this has happened a couple of times, the suicide attempts and other times, it's like, well, if he's not here this morning, then what's he out doing? And so it's worse when he doesn't show up. Then after him, at 10 o'clock, I have a client whose parents, she's an 18-year-old, just getting out of the house, living on her own, and her parents are so controlling that they have a GPS that they attach to her car. And every night they get the GPS data off of it and grill her on her locations, everywhere she's been throughout the day. And she's a college student with a job, living on campus. It's in the same town as her parents. So her parents come and get the GPS data off of her car every day and grill her about it. And she's so angry. She's so angry at them. But she's not to the point where she doesn't have to depend on them anymore. And she doesn't trust them. And she doesn't feel like they trust her, which they don't. They very clearly don't. And she talks about how she wants to hurt them. And the only way she knows how to punish them is to hurt herself. And then she tells them about it. She hurts herself in all sorts of ways. She cuts sometimes. She sleeps around with men in hopes that she'll get pregnant or get an STD. She attempted suicide once, but thankfully after that experience, she's too terrified to try that again. Just another client that breaks my heart every time I think about it. I mean, how could parents do that to a kid? And this goes beyond just the GPS data. There's a lot more control that I don't want to talk about, otherwise I might punch my computer screen. I get so mad after that session every Wednesday. It's just not fair to her. She's responsible and so kind-hearted and tries so hard to be the best person that she can be, and they can't see any of that. They just refuse to let their little girl go. Then at 11, I have an elderly lady. Well, she's not elderly. She's older middle-aged. She's in her late 50s. She suffers from deadening depression. She's just dead behind her eyes. She's tried every medication that she can afford. She's tried all of the non-medicated treatments. She's tried herbal remedies. She's tried everything that she can think of and that her family can think of. And she just can't get out of this dark, dark depression. After her kids left her house and her husband and hers relationship fell apart because the kids were the only thing keeping them together, she just woke up one morning and she couldn't get out of bed. After a few days, one of her kids came to visit her because they hadn't heard from her in a while, and found her in bed in her own filth and took her to the hospital because they were worried that something had happened to her, but it turns out it was just depression. They got her medicated on something that took the edge off, and then started, this series of treatments to try and treat it. Something in her mind is just broken. She has no will to live anymore and is kept alive by her family and brought to therapy every week in the hopes that some miracle will happen. And half the time she's quiet and doesn't respond to me, and we just sit there and we look at each other. Half the time I cry. My heart just goes out to her. She reminds me so much of my own mother. When she does speak, she reminds me of her in the way that she speaks and the things that she talks about and what she loves and cares about and values in life. And half the time I see my own mom sitting there. I'm sorry. Okay. Then at noon I take a break. I eat some lunch. I listen to some music or play Eve online or whatever I can to recuperate from the morning. And then I move to the afternoon. My next client is at 1. And she's actually a good client. She's a breath of fresh air in the middle of my worst day. She's a college student. She's a senior graduating. And she has been dealing with some problems with her long-distance relationship. And over the course of the last 3 or 4 months since I've been seeing her, she's come a long way in treatment and is making progress to a healthy relationship with her boyfriend. And last time, or our last session last week, she was going to talk to him about them moving in together. And I was very happy and supportive of them for that. She's making a lot of right and responsible decisions with her life. And it is very refreshing to see that. Honestly, without that, in the middle of my Wednesdays, I'm not sure I can make it through. Then, after her, at 2, I have another college student. He is a senior, and he's a 6th-year senior, about to flunk out of school. He's getting married in the summer, and he has yet to tell his fiancée that he is going to flunk out of school. This poor kid was raised in a very conservative Christian home, and he is very proud and very unwilling to admit that he needs help, because he believes that if he just prays hard enough, Jesus will fix his grades or something like that. And, believe what you will. I am not going to tell you to believe anything differently when it comes to your belief in a higher power. But I will tell you that you're a dumbass for thinking that just praying about your work and not doing it is going to make it go away. Even if God exists, I don't think that a simple prayer is going to cause him to completely remove your responsibility. And I'm fighting a very losing battle with this kid, trying to get him to understand that he needs to either do some of his own work or find a support system to help him. And I just watch him every week spiral farther and farther into despair as his religion lets him down and as he feels like a failure. And unfortunately, he has not hit rock bottom and is willing to help himself yet. And there is nothing I can do but watch this kid spiral hopelessly out of control and try and catch him at the bottom. I'm very worried about this kid. And this Wednesday, if we don't see some modicum of change, I honestly am probably going to put him on a suicide watch. Last week was rough. Some of the things that he said that I let slide because I don't believe he's at that point yet, but if we keep sliding this week, I am going to have to do something, and he is not going to like it, and it will probably wreck our therapeutic relationship, but I have to save this kid's life. It is so hard to make that decision sometimes, and I will question, just like I do every time I have to make this call, whether or not it's the right decision. But ultimately, I have to save his life, and if I can't do it with therapy, then I am going to have to intervene and put him on a suicide watch and hope that the medication will level him off and can get him making some proper decisions about his life. After him, at 2, my next client at 3 is a lady who is currently going through a divorce. She was married to this worm of a man for a decade. He manipulated her emotionally. He abused her physically. And she finally got the strength or the courage, or had had enough, or was ready to finally protect her child or something. She can't figure out what pushed her over the edge, and honestly, it doesn't matter, because she is getting a divorce from him and trying to make something better of her life. But goddamn, that bastard left her so broken. There I am trying to pick up the pieces. She's such a wonderful woman who has a love for her children like honestly no mother I've seen before. She enjoys sci-fi and fantasy and is an opera singer and a teacher. She has a beautiful voice that I use every time she feels like she's not good enough. I will have her sing to show herself that she is not worthless and that she has talent. That she is more than some asshole's plaything. She has to be so strong right now during their divorce because he has started using their own children against her in the worst way. Calling and harassing my office, calling and harassing the secretaries that work there, calling and harassing the student interns, showing up, using their son as a weapon in court hearings. If I ever see that man again, I probably will punch him right square in his fucking face. It makes me so angry. I am in tears right now just thinking about this poor woman doing everything that she can to take care of her son, to have a life where she's respected and loved, valued for who she is, and all this, I almost said man, but he's not a man, wants is to control her for whatever his selfish reasons are, and to manipulate her and use her as a sexual plaything, and I just want to punch him. I don't know if I should say this or not, but I am licensed. I'm going to say it anyways, obviously. I am licensed to carry a concealed weapon. And I do. And I am not going to finish that sentence because sense has taken back over my emotional response. Then after that, at 4 p.m., I have one of my only child clients. This is a kid. Well, I say child. He's bigger than I am. He's a teenager. An early teenager. He's 14 or 15. I don't remember exactly. Smart, talented, wonderful kid. Great at any sport that he plays. Makes good grades. Has some talent with musical instruments. But guess what? He's black, and I live in Tennessee, and that means that he's a lot of bad things that I'm not going to give voice to because they're not true. And he comes in and he cries because he has almost no friends, and because his teachers are mean to him, and because his coaches treat him badly, because he's black. Some people say that racism is dead, naively. Some people say that racism is not as big a deal as it used to be. And in some parts of the world, that may be true. And perhaps to some extent, it's still true, or it may be true in the South, but not to this kid. It might as well be the fucking 60s for him. He is picked on. He is threatened. He is treated poorly and not given the respect that he has earned, not even deserves, he has earned with his academics and his sports performance. He is not a delinquent. He does not get in trouble, nor does he make trouble. Yet people treat him like dog shit because he's black. And sometimes it makes me sick to live where I live whenever I have to see this. Because it is not fair to that kid, and he has not done anything to deserve it in his entire life. But guess what? It's the fucking 60s in the South again. My last client of the day at 5 is complicated. Sex and sexual identity is a passion of mine. Personally, I am a pansexual. That means that I'm both attracted to men and women. And while I identify as heterosexual, I do find men attractive. I had to keep that a secret. I couldn't talk to anyone about that when I was growing up because the couple of times that I tried, everyone said that I was gay. And I wasn't. I just found men attractive. Ultimately, I wanted to pursue and be in a heterosexual relationship. And so that drove me to learn all that I could so that I could help clients like this one. She's transgender. She is a female in a male body. She's kept it secret her whole life. And she's older than I am. For some reason, she felt prompted to seek therapeutic help. Originally, she wanted to fix her problem. But ever since she came in, she has been fixing it, just not in the way that she intended to when she started. It has been a very long and difficult road for her. She has had to fight decades worth of upbringing, religious teaching, scorn, mistrust, and many, many other negative things. But she's starting to accept who she is. She's starting to consider that she's not broken. She's starting to consider that people could like her as a her. And she's starting to value herself just as she is. I don't know how it is going to turn out. It's almost like every time we take one step forward, we just take another one back. Sometimes 2 steps back. But I'm trying to help her see that she is who she is, and that there's nothing wrong with that. And that if people don't love her for who she is, then they need to fuck off. Some days I leave after that client and I feel empowered. Some days I feel useless. Half the time I cry on the way home. And that's just Wednesday. Wednesday is my worst day, but I have other difficult clients throughout the week. I have other clients that are victims of abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse. I have a couple of other child clients who have experienced trauma or are dealing with the death of their parents or their grandparents or their siblings. I have an elderly patient who's dying from cancer, and there is no more hope left for him. I have some simple cases, just anxiety, kids trying to find their way in the world, figure out who they are. But even those carry their own bits of baggage and bits of sorrow or anger or anguish to throw onto the pile. And every so often the pile overflows. And just like this morning, I will cry and cry and cry and cry. And when it's all done, I will feel empty inside. And that means that I can start taking it on for them again. Because if it wasn't for me doing it, or people like me who do it, then these people would have no help and no hope. That 20-year-old would probably have killed himself by now. A couple of other clients that I have or have had in the past who were suicidal would probably have killed themselves by now. I carry around the weight of their souls. But at the same time, I can carry around the pride that I have helped to save their lives and better the lives of dozens of other people. It is difficult to be a therapist in a way that many people can't understand, because I don't do physical work. I don't do menial labor. I don't sit hunched over a desk for hours and hours typing away at a code or working on a design. I don't experience the pain that can be an artistic expression. I don't come home every day with a broken back and grease all over my body. But by God, do I have some hard days, and have I been in some shit. It can be fucking hard. So fucking hard. Just like it was this morning. Just like it is going to be every Wednesday, at least until my clients change around. And even then, every other day will have its hard moments. But it is so fucking worth it. Being a therapist is many things. It is pain. It is hurt. It is love. It is happiness and sadness and joy. Despair, disappointment, frustration, elation, excitement, fulfilling. I would not do or give up or take anything for this job. I will do it until the day I die, and I will love it every single moment of it, even the worst ones, because I save lives. I make lives better. I heal the hurt. I fix the broken. And I save that kid, those kids who have tried to kill themselves, because I gave them hope where there was none. I showed them love where they had not felt any. And I will do that time and time and time again, because they're worth it. And they deserve it. So there you go. That is what it's like to be a therapist. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and I apologize if you made it through the whole thing and you just feel like, I don't know, crying, or if I have triggered you, I do apologize. But you know how to reach me. I'm here for you too. Gaming Psychologist, signing off.